details for that. There you are. Round two. Come on, bring it.
Alright, what's up y'all? Welcome to the very detailed Knuckles guide. Detailed in quotation marks, of course. So this is the first outcome memories video that I'm doing. And if you're not familiar with what outcome memories is, I would honestly just recommend looking up a video and the gameplay and whatnot so you get a gist of it. I will be going into detail into a lot of stuff that I feel like hasn't been covered in some videos, and I will also be putting timestamps. You guys should see them already, so skip to wherever part interests you and enjoy the video. So first things first, let's just talk about Knuckles and his role within the game as a survivor. So Knuckles is a stunner type of character. Knuckles only has two skills in which, well, both of them stun the EXE. Despite only having two skills, his skills have a lot of like mini gimmicks and stuff you can do with him, but we'll cover that when we get to the skills, of course. I'm just letting you guys know now, so that is no surprise later. His role as a stunner, unlike Metal Sonic, is a little bit different because he's not too tanky, so he's meant to have a sort of like temporary bait survivor role where he annoys the EXE for a little bit and then he has to get out of there. Also, when it comes to aiding survivors, he's definitely up there in the list, especially if you have to revive someone that's been down or if you see the chance to help a survivor that's being chased down by the EXE. If used correctly, he can really annoy the EXE a lot. And before I forget, Knuckles also has a passive ability in which he glides after jumping towards a wall. Essentially, if Knuckles faces a wall and jumps into it, he will hang onto the wall while slowly sliding downwards, meaning he can't get stuck on the same spot. But from there on, if you press space again, Knuckles will jump and automatically glide, which you control with your camera and your movement keys. Knuckles, however, can't glide forever, because after a few seconds of him gliding, he'll just drop down instantly. It's like 3 to 5 seconds roughly. So keep that in mind when you're gliding, and be careful into falling into the void or into the EXE. There's some pretty cool stuff you can do with this passive, but I'm not gonna get too much into detail right now. I'll save any special or cool tech for later. So with that in mind, now we can move on to the skills. Alright, so welcome to the first skill that Knuckles has, his punch ability, which you can trigger by pressing E, or I think if you're on mobile, you just gotta press the punch icon. For console, you just have to press left bumper to trigger the ability. So if you played the Disaster, whichever, the old version or Reborn, at first you think that if you press the ability, you kind of punch. But Outcome Memories punch works differently, because when you press your punch ability, it puts you in a fighting stance. And while said stance is on, you get put into a shift lock type of camera where Knuckles will face wherever your camera goes, and that basically guides the direction of your punch. So a very important thing I forgot to talk about is that if you enter your stance and realize that you can't throw out your punch, or you kind of just want to cancel out of it because you're too slow, if you press the same activation key to trigger the stance, it should cancel it. You won't be able to cancel out of your stance instantly if you just triggered your stance, but it's not too noticeable if you're not trying to do it too quickly. But after canceling your stance, it's gonna put your punch ability on a 5-second cooldown. And as a final thing that the stance can do is that it reduces the damage you take while you're in the stance. On screen right now, you're gonna see the damage difference that Knuckles has with and without his stance against EXE M1s. But for now, this is all you have to know about your stance. Let's just talk about how to actually punch and how it works. So if it wasn't too easy to figure out as to how you could punch, Essentially, if you're on PC, you just have to click while you're in your stance, and Knuckles is going to lunge forward and throw out a punch. I forgot to talk about for mobile users, there's going to be an attack icon on screen that you have to press while in your stance. For console, you just have to press the right trigger to activate the punch. If successful, Knuckles will stun killers, or EXEs, for 3 seconds. Hey, so that's not 3 seconds. Alright, Feature Toma here. Let's just keep it short. But essentially, a lot of the value numbers in like damage or stun durations and stuff like that might not be direct, and instead rough estimations. So you have to keep in mind that I played at like an average of 150 ms or more. So maybe the stuns are actually ping based, but I wouldn't be too sure. I would need the devs to help me out on that one if they watch the video. But yeah, that's it. Of course, you're free to correct me if I get anything wrong. If anything, I'll probably pin the best comment that names stuff that I didn't mention, or the one that corrects me in any errors from this point on. So yeah, let's just get back to the video. Knuckles has a little gimmick where if he keeps holding his fighting stance, he will basically do like a charge up, you can say. As you saw in the intro, Knuckles goes through like charging phases. On screen you should see it right now that he like glowed red for a second, and later on his fists are on fire. So I guess to kind of organize this a little bit, your base punch, if you throw it really quickly without charging it, that would be like your phase 1. If you wait a little bit and get that red glow and white outline, that would be your phase 2 punch. And when your fists are on fire, that would be your phase 3, which is the last charge up that you can do. And of course, to not forget, of course, if you charge up your punch while in your stance, your stun duration will be different for each punch. And so on screen right now, you'll see all the stun durations for each phase. Originally, I was gonna keep yapping between the stun duration stuff, but I decided to change this last minute. For those of you that are confused about the lingering fire that you get from phase 3 or the 3rd phase, basically any character, EXEs and survivors, if they are on fire, their movement speed is lowered. And that's it for let's just say that for the charging phases, alright? But now let me just introduce a different variant of the punch. So essentially, Knuckles has a, I guess you can call it a ground pound fist, a down slam fist or whatever, that you can only trigger if you're in your stance. You jump, and while in the air, or before you hit the ground basically, you punch. And Knuckles will just do a shockwave attack thing where he punches the floor. And if the EXE is in the way, of course, they get stunned and flung. Oh, and by the way, for phase 3, this variant doesn't apply the fire effect, but it does apply the same amount of stun. I just wanted to clarify that. This is another last minute addition. Every punch version has a cooldown of 24 seconds, it seems like, or 25, regardless if you landed or missed. So yeah. Alright, hopefully you guys are still here by now. I know it's been a lot, but you know, because it is a detailed video, I really wanted to try to get in depth with a lot of this stuff, even if it's not 100% accurate. Anywho, the last thing I'll be talking about for Knuckles' punch ability is this passive he has that mostly applies to his punch ability, which you'll get to see why after I bring up the name of the passive ability, which is the Unstoppable passive, which allows him to stack stuns, essentially allowing Knuckles to do team combos and stuff like that. However, for this to work, from the looks of it, Knuckles has to land his stun last, which is why in the clips, I always have Knuckles landing his punch last and not first. However, there is some times where the EXE can't be hit. Usually you'll be able to tell after he's been stunned and he kind of has like a red glow. And like I mentioned previously, where Knuckles can charge up his punch ability, those stun durations transfer over to this passive when you do hit an EXE. But sometimes it doesn't work because honestly I have no idea. It's just either the hitbox is a little weird, or it's just I don't know. I would not be able to tell you. Would probably need the devs for that. Yeah, share the video with the devs. But that's up for you to decide after watching this video. Anywho, now we can move on to the final skill for Knuckles. Alright, so our last skill for Knuckles is the counter. So this one is actually really simple. It has a few gimmicks, but not as much as the punch ability, so no worries. I'll try to keep this one short. So it's pretty simple. When you trigger this skill, Knuckles just kind of puts up his hands, and he has a little outline around him, which indicates that his counter is active. And if you are hit within 3 seconds, Knuckles will counter with an uppercut, which will throw any EXEs that hit him. I'm not going to explain how you trigger it on PC. It's pretty simple. Just click the button, man. For mobile users, you just have to tap your skill, similar to your punch. And for console, you have to press right bumper, if I'm not mistaken. And the thing that I forgot to mention is that the counter skill has the same cooldown as the punch ability if you land it. However, if you miss it, it seems to bump up the cooldown number to 30 seconds. Now, the cool little thing about this ability is that for now, since we only have one killer or one EXE, Knuckles can basically counter everything except for environmental stuff. But he can basically counter every single ability that the EXE has as long as it counts as a hit. So, for example, M1s, of course, they're counterable. The charge ability that EXE has, you can counter that as well. However, you cannot chain any stuns after that, at least sometimes. I think after rage mode it's doable because I tested it and it somehow allowed me to, but I'm not too sure. It's kind of random, but I would just not recommend trying to chain stuns after landing your counter against the charge. Against any other situation maybe, but remember, you have to watch out for the red iframe glowing thing. And you can also counter God's trickery. I'll give you a little explanation as to how this works. So from my understanding, some of God's trickery after images hurt you. I'm not too sure if it's the actual EXE or if some of them can do that. But if the after image does hurt you directly, or I think if it tries to hurt someone, since it's still a hit and you have some time to react, Knuckles can sometimes counter it. And that's really the trick. It's honestly kind of a gamble. So, I'm letting you know, but you should not do this. People are gonna hate you if you whip the counter. But, that's that. Now, aside from this tech and Knuckles being able to counter everything that the EXE has, that counts as a damaging hit. If I haven't shown it already through the background footage or some of the previous clips, Knuckles is able to counter while he's in his stance, which essentially means that he can also charge up the stun duration of his counter. So similar to how you would charge up your punch power stun thing, you can basically apply that stun duration to your counter if you are in your stance and if you counter a hit. As far as I've also tested, the stun durations for the counter should be the same as the punch durations, which applies to rage mode stuns as well. But I am gonna let this play out and I'm gonna shut up at some point so you can just kind of listen to the music and stuff. So quick little note, every time you charge up your counter through your punch stance, it resets your stance cooldown, you could say, or your punch cooldown or whatever, which allows you to use your punch ability, if I'm not mistaken, regardless if you miss your counter or if you landed. Just thought I'd drop this in since I didn't mention it earlier, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, last man standing stuff, yeah! So, the last thing that we're going to cover on Knuckles is his last man standing passive, which I have no idea what the name of it is. Devs, if you're watching this, please let me know. But I'm going to try to provide all the information that I found out. First things first, Knuckles' max HP as a last man standing, if he is full health, is 165. However, from the looks of it, and because I tested this, if you get your last man standing buffs at low health, say like below 35, you will still get the 65 HP, but it's gonna look more like a heal. So basically, whenever you have a max of 165, it's because you're being overhealed by 65. Speaking of last man standing, there is another passive that Knuckles seems to have, which involves his endurance, because apparently this guy gets a damage reduction when he's last man standing. And of course, to follow it up, I'm gonna show you guys the damage reduction difference with the base health and whatnot. So I'm gonna shut up so you guys can look at that. Now, as the last thing that I went to verify, in case Knuckles had any other passives and whatnot that were noticeable while playing the game, I found nothing. From the looks of it, his stuns, his cooldowns, along with his movement speed seem relatively the same. So it seems the only changes he gets are the damage reduction and the 65 health that he gets for being last man standing. Anywho, this is it for the last man standing stuff for Knuckles. And this next section is just random tech or tips that I did not get to fit in the video that I thought would be good to fit at some point. So here they are, and no more voiceovers, so enjoy that, and I'll see you guys at the end of the video. Alright, so welcome to the end of the video. I'm just gonna say a few things. You can just skip if you don't care, but if you want to continue listening, then sure. So, you might be wondering, Tomo, what if some of these parts that you showed are outdated or are changed after the video, or are confirmed to be incorrect? And my answer to that is keep yourself safe. But no, jokes aside, well, I mean, if the devs just confirm a lot of this information to be fake or unreliable, it is what it is. I guess I just won't make more outcome memories guides. But the plan is that if this one does really well and it gets good reception and it gets confirmed that a lot of stuff is fine, then I'll continue doing them. But yeah, that's the plan. Anywho, I guess also just as an honest opinion, I honestly think the game is really good. So yeah, shout out to the devs. You guys cooked up a really good game. And I'll be on the sidelines still playing the game, regardless of how this video turns out. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want more, remember to comment. And yeah, see ya.